1701, and today on Face Off we're looking at the Whittaker era. And my question was, now that we have finished the Whittaker Chibnall era, what do you think of the 13th Doctor now that we've seen her whole run, at least in television form? And the options I gave were amazing, good, okay, bad, and terrible. Now, instead of just 2 options, we had 5 here. Now, the large majority, you might expect it to be negative, but the large majority with 38% said okay. So not bad, not good, not bad, right there in the middle. Right in the middle, okay. Good start. Now running up in second place at 24% was terrible. Okay had 38%, over a third of the vote. Now terrible did have 24%, with bad having 16%. Good only having 13%, and amazing only having 9%. So second and third place were the negative categories. But I do think it's a testament that at least the highest placing one at 38% was okay. So not in the bad category. Her era for me is hit or miss, because I do like Series 12 a lot, the finale notwithstanding. But I really disliked most of Series 11, although it has moments, and I do like the Ghost Monument. It's just not very rewatchable for me, even though I do think the 13th Doctor's characterized a little stronger than she is in Series 12, although Whittaker acts her better in Series 12. Whittaker in Series 11 doesn't really seem to get the character. You can tell she really didn't research the character. She didn't really seem to have an understanding for the character. She grew into the role, though. And by Flux, she was doing really well, and I very much enjoyed her in the last specials, even if Legends of the Sea Devil's terrible. I do think her era has ups and downs. I think Flux would have been better if it hadn't been made during, the height of the pandemic, and it hadn't been tied together as one story. I think season 13 could have been stronger. I do think War of the Sontarans and Village of the Angels would have worked really well as standalone episodes. I do think the only thing hurting them is their attachment to the rest of Flux. As standalones, they're really good. And I love the character of Jericho. He was a really neat character. I always liked the actor who played him. He was great in Pirates of the Caribbean, so I thought he was a really well-written character. But for one thing that really bolsters the 13th Doctor's era for me is the outside media. I've really enjoyed the comic books that one of my subscribers sent me this huge box of stuff. Steve or Steven, it was either Steve or Steven was his name. And he sent me a lot of stuff, including some graphic novels of the 13th Doctor. And they're really good. I really click with her Doctor better. I seem to get her Doctor better outside of the show when I don't have to deal with Whittaker playing the character. And again, Whittaker grew into the role, but it really took me a while to click with her playing the role, whereas I get the 13th Doctor a little more in other media. Reading her in novels and stuff works better for me. Curious to see if we'll ever get her in Big Finish. But yeah, as a whole, with the outside media, that's probably what I'd say about her era. It's okay. It's my least favorite. I think it's the weakest era of Doctor Who. But I think it's okay overall. It has good moments. It has bad moments. Again, I enjoy most of Series 12. And some of the other things it does I like. And I really enjoyed 2 of the 3 specials here at the end. I liked Eve of the Daleks a lot. I really enjoyed Power of the Doctor a lot. And including Whittaker's performance. Again, I do think she got better in the role for the most part. Let's see what y'all have to say, though. Let's see here. Pull this up. Richard English says, I loved it. Who doesn't enjoy negligible characterizations, incomprehensible plotting, and heavy-handed partition rhetoric? And I particularly enjoyed the fan baiting from behind the scenes with Chibnall, Whittaker, and an endless stream of nameless BBC spokespeople told us there was nothing wrong with the show itself. It was us, the fans. So yeah, it was beautiful and stunning and brave and brave and stunning and beautiful and stunning and brave and stunning and beautiful and etc. Well, Richard, I can't argue with that. JLB, who is also one of my patrons, says, I voted amazing. Every era from Hartnell to Whitaker I've been fortunate to enjoy. Some more than others, of course, but each era has so many memories to treasure. This area certainly has its duds, however. Its highs were worth it. Whitaker had an exciting and energetic performance. Henry Miller says, I voted okay. Whilst I clicked with her the least of any New Who Doctor, I wouldn't say she was miscast, and clearly gave her all in every episode and deeply cares about the role. The writing and Chris Chibnall were the only things that let her and her era down. She does feel like the Doctor to me, however. And Brandon Winchester says, it's okay. I'd say the story quality is about 50-50. I actually like half the stories in Series 11 and 12. I like her specials too. Though it's got a lower quality in terms of overarching narratives, a lot of them are overly complicated and messy, but not fun in a Moffat way. 13th's characterization is poor, but I blame Chris Chibnall more than Jodie Whittaker, who I have enjoyed in other projects more so than Doctor Who. Sadly, she's so flat here and wish she got more individual moments to shine. Her companions are weak, with Graham being the only good one of the four. The science fiction writing and ambition are at times there, but they lack the Doctor Who feel that you get from any other era. That's well put. I like that point. That's very true. Sadly, most of her serials rank near the bottom of my all-time rank list. I think Flux is doo-doo. The Timeless Children goes nowhere, and the shake-up feels rushed at best, and at its worst, it brings down the mortality of the Doctor as a character and makes them the chosen one in a sense which I do not like, and I completely agree about that. At least we get decent historicals back and unique designs for the TARDIS logo and theme tune. I do love that intro for the Whittaker era. It's really good. Cool VFX too. The era isn't all bad, but it surely isn't good either. That is a well-written, well-thought-out paragraph, Brandon. I like that. That is a very constructive criticism. That's the kind of thing I like to see. Very, very well written. Ben Heron says, I think the 13th Doctor, Jodie herself, was great, or rather had the potential to be great, but was let down by writing and storytelling decisions. She wasn't perfect. I remember the early era feeling like she was trying to be another Tennant, but she did develop far better than the writing did. I only properly enjoyed 4 or 5 stories from her entire era. It's a shame, especially because it came at a perfect time in my life. I discovered Doctor Who in 2015, having loved the Sarah Jane adventures, finishing Series 8 just in time to see Series 9 and 10 live on TV. I remember finding out Chibnall would be the showrunner and becoming a little disappointed because his episodes before becoming showrunner weren't all that great compared to Moffat's excellent pre-showrunner stories. Regardless, I was so excited about the season, it could have been integral to my life. Chibnall's era saw me through my 5 years of high school, but the best moments I have are joking about how much Chibnall sucks for the years after the Timeless Children. The ironic part is that 2 out of 3 best Doctor Who stories Chibnall did were for Torchwood. I forgot he wrote for Torchwood, but that's true. Who is one of my regulars on here, and I also see over on the merchandising forum a lot, and has this strange love for Delta and the Bannermen that I will never understand. Bobby says, love it. The first 2 series were brilliant, but lost its way after, and the last one was terrible. Seed Hill Bruiser Music says, I said good because she wasn't bad at all, despite what all the haters said. And by gum, there are a lot of haters. I'm 56. I grew up with Who as a wee kid in the 70s in the UK, became a proper teenage fan around 80 to 81, and I remember organized fandom at that point hated Doctor Who. They were always complaining and hating current Who and saying old Who was better. This has not changed. I don't think there's a sci-fi series like Who where the most vocal fans hate the current iteration of all of it so much throughout its history. Other fan bases actually love their series, but Who fans rejoice in hating. It's pretty shameful, but not new. LOZ Hallett1 says, it's easy to blame the showrunner or writers, and that's true to a certain extent. But they didn't make her denounce most of the fans in the radio podcast interview she did when she got the job. I remember that as well. Also, she later announced how easy the job was and that anyone can do it. Essentially, she started off on the wrong foot. Then to follow this by doing little research and essentially copying her friend David Tennant's style of doctor, albeit poorly and breathlessly, and doing the most ridiculous gurning faces. That's all on her, an era best forgotten. Paul Bailey, another fellow YouTuber, says it's okay that are some great episodes in the era, not many great, but mainly the rest of the era are on the good or bad spectrum. The ones I consider to be great, like The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Rose, I guess he means Rosa, Kerglam, Spyfall, The Tesla, Night of Terror, Fugitive of the Jadoon, The Haunting of Villa Diodati, Ascension of the Cybermen, Revelation of the Daleks, Lord of the Sontarans, Village of the Angels, Eve of the Daleks, and Power of the Doctor. It's not the greatest era of the show, as that falls to Tom Baker. Yes. But it's my second to least favorite era, which makes me wonder, I know his least favorite era is probably Tennant. I know he doesn't like Tennant. Henry Andrews says, next getting still. There's a few okay episodes in there, but a handful of okay episodes in 5 years doesn't exactly shout good to me. Whittaker's biggest flaw is Chibnall's writing. She wasn't given the greatest advice when she first became the Doctor. It's like all of the factors that make a Doctor good or great were not present in this current era. Don't get me wrong, Sacha Dhawan, the Daleks, and other classic villains were handled well, except for the Sea Devils, and did, dare I say, a great job. Power of the Doctor was more consistently written, and although messy at times, resolved itself well. Doctor Who is all about change, and I get that, but I think Chibnall tried to change too much too quickly. The tone of the show changed too drastically as well. Now, all that being said, I do feel that it was the right time to reboot the show. Capaldi, for me, was brilliant. His whole arc was well handled, and his final adventure, in which he was tired of being somebody else, tired of changing, was a fitting end to that run. 12 met 1, and it all came full circle very nicely. That would have been a chance to reboot the show, but the writing just fell far too flat. The companions were bland, the stories were tedious. If Jodie had been written more the way she was in Eve of the Daleks or Power of the Doctor, and the Timeless Children had been handled differently, I feel the whole era would be looked upon a little more favorably. TARDIS Spider, who is another fellow YouTuber as well, says, I cannot judge what I have not watched, yet with so many less than stellar reviews, I have no desire outside of Power of the Doctor. Yet for the fan service, not the story or the Doctor is why. It does nostalgia well, Power of the Doctor. Colin Coney, who is one of my top tier patrons, says, a missed opportunity. Should have been much better, but not uniformly bad. When it was good, it was 7 out of 10 for me. When it was bad, it was 2 to 3 out of 10. My least favorite era, but it wasn't as apocalyptically bad as some would have had you believe. Bananas Are Good, which is a screen name I am never going to get over. I love that screen name. Bananas Are Good said, sorry to jump on the bandwagon, but I really don't like the 13th Doctor. Jodie's a decent actor, but her choices of ways to play the part just come off as annoying most of the time. And Farkeen Huge says, worst Doctor ever, and not only because she had bad scripts, but because she was totally miscast as the Doctor. Casting Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor was the equivalent of casting Morgan Freeman as Superman. Jodie Whittaker never felt like the Doctor to me, and she never will. And Mikey Elliott said, it is the worst era of Doctor Who. Most of the episodes are trash. So, people feeling very strongly, with a lot of opinions in the comment varying. A lot of different opinions in the comments as well. I say, if I go by just the TV era, it's edging into bad for me overall, between okay and bad. But when I factor in the non-TV stuff for her era, like the comics, it's okay. It's okay. Good stuff and bad stuff. I mean, all of Doctor Who is a mixed bag one way or another. And, you know, except like series 13 and 12, because they're just, or season 13 and 12, because they're just amazing. But most of Doctor Who's eras, you know, there's going to be a couple duds in there. It's just how it is. But this era was very overall okay, at best okay. So we have 38% saying it's okay, 24% saying it's terrible, 16% saying it's bad, 13% saying it's good, and 9% saying it's amazing off 150 votes. So if you didn't get to vote in this poll, comment down below and let me know what you think of the 13th Doctor now that we have seen all of her era. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. That helps me pay the bills if you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do and get access to other fun little bonuses, polls and voting and extra videos, early access to some stuff and all that fun stuff. Check that out. There's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to Colin Coney and Stephen Crane, two of my top tier patrons. I appreciate their continued support as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me. Someone just sent me The Last Adventure recently, Colin's final Big Finish audio. I'm looking forward to getting into that. So if there's anything you want to send me, that's down there, as is a link to my Amazon wish list and a link to my Amazon UK wish list. Most importantly, thank you for watching.